Welcome to the Dr. Karin Show with a mind, body, and heart. You meet the soul. I am here with the amazing CEO of United Intentions Foundation, Tim Ray. Say hi.
Hi.
Oh, he's going to do a lot of talking. Once I stop, he will take over.
I'm not saying a word.
Yeah, or whatever. I'll get it out of him. I want to let you guys know, first of all, that the Lighter Side Network and the Center for Love and Light, where we're hosted here, is going to have a booth at the Alive Expo in Atlanta the weekend of April 20th. So if you're in the area, come check it out. It's that Saturday and Sunday, and there'll be so many people in this industry there. So it's a great place to be if you're into health, wellness, and spirituality, and all that stuff that we love here. So I want to talk to Tim. We're not exactly sure where we're going to go, which I love. We didn't put up too much structure because I've actually done Tim's show twice, and I've been on United Intentions Radio with Beth Peters on Psychic Soup.
Yep, and also the TV show Good Intentions with Tim Ray, and we didn't prepare. We just did it and went with it, and it was probably one of our better shows. Out of the 8 we did, it was
his best show.
All right, it was the best show. Come on.
This is going to be the best show. I love it. Yeah, and everyone knows, I don't put too much. I do my work, but I already knew you. So you're just going to witness two friends talking about all kinds of craziness and about consciousness. Because I've had, there's so many women on the show, and when I get to have a man on, I get so excited because I love when men are into the place of awakening, and so many women that are surrounding me are like growing and spiritual, but when I get a man on that's also like super savvy business, and that I think it can be so enlightening for people to hear your point of view and to see what the potential is. And I think it gives other men permission to kind of grow into their own consciousness. And why do you think it's tougher for men to awaken than it is for women?
Well, one, because I think feminine energy is the map road to the ascension process, or at least the spirituality piece. And how's that work? I don't know exactly, but that's what I've been gathering over the years. And of course, a lot of men are caught into the masculine energy more so than the feminine energy, although we all have it balanced, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least masculine and feminine energy, some more than not. So I think just the nature of that, and what goes along with masculine energy, protection, concern, be vigilant of what's outside. And what goes along with feminine energy is nurturing, nurture, spiritual, war is more masculine, loving is more nurturing. So I just think those are the kind of two separate energies. Yeah. And we need both.
Yeah, and you're explaining it very well.
Yeah, so I think that's a part of the reason.
Do you think that there's like that? I know so much of it's fear when there's an avoidance, and my friend Lewis Howes just wrote the book Mask of Masculinity, and he talks about that, these masks that men have really needed to put up to portray this masculine energy, and it's out of fear, I think, and I think it's the fear of almost like being exposed, or maybe showing too much of the feminine, which is emotion.
A lot of it, I think, is it's because of the masculine energy, but also more so I think it's environmental. I think majority of it is that we're raised at a young age that, don't cry, hold your feelings, somebody bullies you, you bully them back. Right. And there's not that, and the father gets involved and to whatever degree. And so you don't have that, the dynamic of, hey, listen, love your neighbor, and I guess you do in certain religions, but it's more so you got to be a man and stand up.
Like competition,
competitive, So I think over a period of time, but yet things are changing. I mean, you have the feminization of our male society today. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's happening. And I think people are much more kinder. Or I look at my sons. I have 2 boys, and Johnny, you couldn't get a sweeter kid. Although tough, because I raised them tough in the sense they're both wrestlers and they can defend themselves. But him, and even my son Tommy, who's a little more on the wild side, like someone he knows, and but he's the sweetest kid in the world too. So I taught them at a young age, Karin, that I didn't really get too into the religion aspect of it. I just focused because I was raised Catholic, I think, and I raised them more so as kind of a general love, and I always instilled them at a young age that good boys, there are good girls and good boys. There are not just good girls and good bad boys. There sometimes good boys do bad things, and sometimes good girls do bad things. So it's not that they're bad; it's the behavior that is bad. Right. So I kind of separated that as much as I possibly could, and even to the point where I was, I'm a Leo Virgo. Mm-hmm. I actually did no cards where I would say on there, God is love. Sometimes good boys do bad things. It's not that, and I'd give note cards, and instead of like, why am I teaching all those vocabulary words or math numbers? Like, they're not going to use that. This is what's going to change their life, This is what's going to transform them when they get older. And understanding my spiritual beliefs at the time, whether I was right or wrong, that's what I did. And so far, hey, they're really good boys.
I love that, because being raised, I think the word that comes up for me is shame around maybe some of the Catholic guilt. I know for me, and I talk about this a lot on the show, and I'm writing about it right now, it's that being raised in that very controlled environment, then the lowest vibrational place we can be is shame. It's like you're vibrating at like a 10. Yeah. And so you can't be a productive, awakened person when you're feeling ashamed. And I think so much of the things that you're talking about that puts those expectations or those good, bad, lines down, it is shame oriented.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
To shame, it's like there's this perception that if we can shame them enough that they're going to feel bad enough that they're going to become good. But what's actually happening is they're contracting.
Yeah.
So how did you come out of being raised Catholic and being raised in what could be considered confined or rigid environment to knowing to make cards for your kids that say God is love and have more of a oneness perspective?
Boy, you are a brilliant interviewer.
Yes,
so that's
I know what I'm doing.
Great question. Can I steal that?
Go with it, Tim.
So really my opening, outside of the priest yelling at me in confession because I didn't know my Hail Marys, I think he said, after I told my confessions, like, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I didn't clean the garage out, and I said a couple curse words, and he goes, okay, give me 5 Hail Marys and 2 Our Fathers. And so I said, okay, great. I'm about to go to the front of the church and kneel and pretend like I was doing it. And he said, but before you go, repeat after me. Tell me your Hail Marys. I'm like, oh, really? Right here? And I really didn't know them. I started out with, Hail Mary, full of grace, our Father art in heaven. So I kind of combined the two, and he yelled at me, believe it or not.
Shame.
And so, shame, right? And I'm like, after that moment, I'm like, I don't feel comfortable coming back to this place, because I only went because my mom told me to, but and I let it go. And so I wasn't agnostic or atheist or anything like that. I was just, didn't know what to think until I went to college and I had a world religion course. I'm like, whoa, I've been lied to. Everybody's not Christians. What's going on here?
Right. I mean, most people aren't Christians, right?
Most
you
people
see that pie chart they give you, or like most of the world's religion. Yeah, isn't it like?
I was like shocked, and then I hear that it's the third youngest. It's not even the oldest religion, So, and so over time, I just kind of got a habit of learning about them, and I found all the common denominators that were enough for me to kind of create my own belief system. That I said, I don't think anybody really understands God, even though some people say they do, and I don't care if they're Christians or Buddhists or Hindus. They all believe a certain belief, and so I concluded that maybe there's common denominators in all of them. There's always this higher power. Some call him God, some call him Nirvana, some call him, Allah. And there's always a way to communicate through, meditation, prayer, whatever it may be, your intention. And there's always a person speaking about this, Muhammad, a Jesus, a Buddha. And there's always usually a book written about it, the Vedas, the Old Testament, New Testament, the Quran. So I'm like, well, there seems to be all these common denominators.
Yeah.
And the biggest one was love was the one that was promoted, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, well, maybe, until people figure out and give me the right answer, I'm just going to go with love.
I love that.
And so then I, just incorporated into then it kind of led me to the metaphysical world and then to the point where I'm like, listen, I really need to instill some type of spirituality into my kids at a young age, because I know when they get teenagers, it's going to become alcohol and girls. So, and let me at least have a fallback plan for them.
He's not speaking from personal experience. From what you heard.
And, a fallback plan when they get, old enough where they say, okay, I need to get back to my roots. And so we're not there yet. So the experiment, I'll let you know. All right. So hang in there.
But what you talked about, they're really aware though, like they're kind. And that's what you want, like your kids, those of you that are parents. I mean, you want to grow and nurture kind human beings.
Yes.
Right? That show kindness, because you also know when you look at all the religions, there are different words for it, but that's going to come back to them. Right? Instead of shaming them into something, which, and I always do the caveat where our parents were trying to protect us, and so were their parents trying to protect them, and they taught us based on what they taught, and that's what they knew. But like you mentioned in the beginning of this conversation, we're evolving so much, and we're in a different paradigm now, right? Like the consciousness is changing. Yes, there's this feminine masculine kind of merging, and where the oneness and the collective consciousness is like up leveling. So you did say, now you did this little like, I drift over to the metaphysical world. There's got to be, how did this happen? Like, how did you go from interested to then, now he has the foundation, the United Intentions Foundation, which is a super conscious focused, conscious based foundation. So how did this become like your happy place? What brought you?
Well, you know, I like I said, I was got into the metaphysics, and I got into a lot of the different things from channelers, and this was when I was late teens too. So I always had an interest in the
early.
I know. And
How'd you find them then?
a book. I know one book like
There was no internet.
No, there wasn't. It was all books, no cell phones either. And so I think one of the books that really stood out was The Bridge Across Forever by Richard Bach, and it was a love story, but it was kind of a metaphysical kind of love story. And then I became an avid reader at the time, to the point where I can't pick up a book now. I don't know if it's the chemtrails in my head or it's whatever, but I can't read a book anymore. So don't send me any more books. I'm only kidding. No, but I was an avid reader, and I would pick up, and then it led me to another book, and then before you know it, I'm reading self-help books, and then before you know it, Dale Carnegie and all these other things, and then I go to college for psychology, and
right.
and then. Which is a study of the soul, by the way, or supposed to be. Now it's a study of the intellect, which it's not supposed to be. So now we're getting back, Karin, to study of the soul in psychology. We're finding out in life coaches and things like that. But I always had that, but yet I got lost into the three-dimensional, white picket fence, 3.2 kids life and the matrix, as they say. I plugged in there for a handful of decades, and I worked for the man for a long time, then started my own business. And then to a point where I was able to, I always had this, vision or belief system that I'd always lived with. I lived an intentional life for the most part. I connected the dots that my thoughts create my reality, but I got lost into that for a little while, and then I got caught up into the news, Fox News and MSNBC and CNN.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, man, the world's coming to an end. Or I go to see a movie theater and the apocalypse is happening, and I'm like, what's going on here? And so I kind of was getting very fear-based. Oh wow, the Hopi Indians talking about the spider webs in the sky. This is the end times, whatever. And I'm like, whoa, all that learning that I did a handful of decades ago, I'm like, where is it? Where it needs to show up? I mean, I was enlightened, at least I thought I was, and I'm like, here I'm not practicing or applying it, and here I am also creating the intentions of these other media outlets.
Right, expanding that fear.
Expanding it. And then one would lead to another. And the law of attraction, 16 seconds later, another thought, like-minded thought. And so I'm like, I got to a point I was either going to build a bunker or I was going to create the United Intentions Foundation. So I literally got to that point. I'm like, well, I'm not a very, I'm kind of a social guy, and I don't think living in a bunker for the next 15 years is something where I'd rather do. I'd rather go out with a bang,
Yeah.
I don't believe in death anyway, so really what does it matter? Yeah. So I went with the foundation and the goal to wake people up to the power of intentions, and that's where I was. And am I there? Yeah, I am a good portion of there, understanding the dots. I connect the dots, thoughts first, reality second. But I always practicing that. LaShawn, don't say a word. But I try to practice as much as I possibly can to be that conscious person and to share that. But you know what? As I learned from a special person, Rainey, she said, we teach the lessons that we need to learn the most. And so I think that is something that's so deep that, think about that. Mm-hmm. What we talk about all the time are the lessons that we need to learn the most. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really where I am. And who am I going to be in 5 years from now or 5 months from now? I don't know. But I know my beliefs are going to change, and I hope they change. And I hope they change to something even more magical and powerful than where they are now. Yeah. And as we grow the foundation and we meet people such as incredible people like you, Karin, honestly, you really are. And I'm really leveling up, and I'm attracting people like you.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And now Jesse. So, here we go. Here we are.
I just kind of want to take a breather on that. That was so well said. That was it. I love it. You ran through all that in such a beautiful way, because I think I'm interested in it. I hope you guys are interested. I always want to know the story, because especially when we grew up, like there was such the stream was so strong towards the fear-based religion thing, and we all kind of were implanted with that. And I'm always so curious, like, what spawned you out of that rushing stream? Because it's strong, and I still get, and you probably do too, I'm guessing, like a lot of kickback from people that are still really embedded in that type of paradigm, and they're like, judge me, and are you Christian, and Jesus is the only way, and all these things where I'm like, that's not what he meant, But then I have to pull back and let my oneness understanding of love, like love them where they are, and not need to convert everybody, but also, like you were saying, be expectant and intending that that your consciousness is going to evolve and change,
absolutely,
and that you're going to grow. And this upleveling is so amazing when believing in law of attraction and intention about attracting different people. So what have you seen? Like, so he was just talking about when we were off air, going to the Bahamas this weekend, and he gets to meet with all these really high level people from around the world. And so you start attracting the more you are expanding that intention. So how has that been for you? Like, as you went from owning a corporation or a company that I know you were in healthcare.
Golden Home Services.
Yeah. But what's neat is you also have this thread as you're up-leveling of, I know you interview a lot of doctors on your show, and like, it's neat, like that attraction. So how do you see that kind of informing like where you are now, like the up-leveling and attracting new people and the medical stuff?
The first advice I would give, and it's something I kind of discovered over time, is watch the Field of Dreams and follow what he did. Build it and they will come. And pretty much how I did the foundation. I started out, I didn't know what I was doing, other than I felt like I needed to create a foundation where we're going to wake people up to that maybe we need to be the second coming. We need to awaken within ourselves rather than waiting for a superhero to come save the day, right? And so I'm like, what's it going to look like? I really didn't know. I first started out with some videos, and then I started out. So the first thing I'd say is, build it and they will come. Just go with it, risk it, go with it, and have faith in the universe that you're going to be directed, and it will come to play over time.
Because you're following a calling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a calling.
Yeah.
That's not a whoops, like I'm going to try this. That's a very conscious spiritual calling towards something really big.
The intention. See, even when I started Golden Home Services, Karin, I wrote on a napkin, this is after I watched one of those movies with, who's the guy played in, I can't think of his name anyway, Tom Hanks. And he
played in everything.
He played in everything, yeah. But one of these where he was running around, and it was a Catholic thing, and he had these symbols, you got to follow these symbols, I can't remember the name of the show.
Yeah.
And he put these hidden symbols. So I put my hidden symbols into my logo of Golden Home Services before he even started the company. That's and cool. It was all about unity. And so I had, there's a unity symbol for like the circle, and the triangle, and then the waves on there, so it's like the strength, the love, and then whatever. But instead of putting it all together like that, I separated. So I made the house kind of like the house, the triangle, the house, and I made the circle, the sun up there, and then I made the three little lines for the that wave is for like birds. So where we're coming to unity. Cool. But that was I put intention into it, right? And I truly believe my intention I put into it before I even created it is the reason why it was a successful company.
So we were talking about the logo for your company, and you got to sneak in this very conscious-based like symbolism, which I think is so cool to tell viewers about doing, because you can put in, and I'm using the word sneak, but for him it's obviously an intention, and so you're putting an energy into something, even like the logo or the paint color you're picking, or the feng shui in the room or whatever it is. There's certain ways that you can implement intention and conscious-based kind of manufacturing of your environment to promote, the intention of what you're doing. So you were saying that you put that in there very purposefully, and you feel like it was a stepping stone into the foundation.
Into the foundation, and because...
But it started way back, how many years
15 years ago.
15 years.
And so, and because I really, and this is where the power of intention, I think, is everything, honestly, on every level, because we have our, of course, our subconscious mind, as you know, runs the show, right? And our conscious mind is, 5% of our utilage of our brain. But when we are able to sync, we slow down enough to focus on one intention. Mm-hmm. And we can slow down, look at that one intention, whatever it may be, it doesn't really matter. And sync what the subconscious may be believing about that intention versus your conscious belief about that intention, to where they both agree on this intention. That's the manifestation of that intention. That's where I think the magic occurs. That's where I think you start seeing your manifestation start rolling in front of you, because you're syncing that. Because now if you're saying, I want a Bugatti, and your subconscious mind is saying, fool, you're not getting a Hyundai if you're lucky, right? So, who's going to win? The subconscious 30,000 times more powerful. So you don't deserve that, go back home and, shut up.
But it's thinking that I haven't heard it described that way.
Yeah.
Syncing up the subconscious and
Well, that's the science part of me,
Oh, no, I love it. Yeah.
And a lot of my shows I speak to the science of things because I'm trying to break it down so I can understand. And honestly, I have to say, the shows that I do, we have a lot of followers, a lot of listeners, but they're really not for them. Sorry, it's really for me. It's like this is how why I don't read books anymore. I have like an interactive audio book process when I have guests come, whether on Skype or in person, and I learn some stories, and I'm putting a piece together as we define our own reality. And we're all defining our own reality, whatever that may be, and I'm defining it through this process, and that's why I think I actually, as LaShawn and everybody else will tell you, I only do what I really want to do these days, but I come to work every day because I get to come to work every day.
Yeah.
I look forward to come to work and talking to people like you, Karin, and enjoying what the stories are. Like you said earlier, it's that story, the connecting the dots, isn't it? Just like wow. But then you immediately bring it back to your life, and you say, well, how did I do mine, or how does And we do comparisons all the time and value judgments all the time. This is part of being a human. But I mean, you grow. Don't you grow every time you have an interview?
Yes. And I love what you're saying, because this is so much what we talk about with law of attraction and intention and flow. Because even though, and I'm the same way, people will say, oh, you wrote something that I so needed to hear it. How did you know? And I'm like, well, I wrote what I needed to write that day, because I'm actually asking for guidance for myself. So whatever was really present for me, which is what you're talking about, what you're interested in. But that's alignment. And what's so great about it, once you understand that, is when you're in flow and you're able to do what you love, like you're doing and I'm doing, you're attracting people and you're attracting subjects that they're aligning with you, but they're also going to align with the people that are listening and watching, because that oneness flow is happening. And that's being inspired, which is from the word in spirit. I mean, you are in a spiritual alignment, with the people that you're interacting with. And that's what I love hearing about that. For now, I appreciate you so much for sharing that part of your story. I love that we talked about masculine energy and the evolution of male consciousness, and that, we have a ton of male viewers on the show too. And I think the scientific side, especially for that audience, is super important, because you've got that logic.
Right. And plus they want to look at you too. I think that's important for the male views.
That's why you're here. Oh, thank you. Well, we try here. We try to make a beautiful set. We bring beautiful people in.
Not spiritual, but come on, what else are you gonna do?
We do what we can. So for now, you guys keep leading with your heart, because every time you do, you're going the right direction. See you next time.
Bye.